September 21st, 1997, Boulder, Colorado. That night, the police department received a 911 emergency call from a terrified man claiming strange children with black eyes were trying to enter his home. What happened next was terrifying. It must have been around 11 p.m. I was at home reading a book in my living room. Just as I turned a page, there was a knock at the door. I hesitated for a moment. Maybe it was a neighbor in need of help. I stood up and made my way to the door. As I reached the door, I got an uneasy feeling. I glanced through the peephole, expecting to see someone familiar. Instead, I saw two figures standing on my porch. They were children, a boy and a girl, no older than 10. Their faces were pale, almost ghostly under the dim porch light. They wore simple, old-fashioned clothes that looked out of place in this day and age. I unlocked the door and opened it just a crack, enough to see them more clearly, but not enough for them to come inside. "Can I help you?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. The children didn't respond immediately. They stood there, staring at me with an intensity that made my skin crawl. Finally, the boy spoke, his voice eerily calm and flat. "We're lost. Can we come in and use your phone?" The request seemed reasonable, but there was something unnerving about the way he said it. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. "Where are your parents?" I asked, trying to buy some time while I gathered my thoughts. The girl stepped forward, her eyes locked onto mine. "They'll be here soon. We just need to come in for a moment. Please." I glanced around, looking for any sign of their parents, but the street was empty. My instinct screamed at me to shut the door, to send them away, but a strange compulsion held me in place. "What's their number? I can call them for you," I offered, hoping to avoid letting them inside. The children exchanged a glance, and for the first time, I noticed their eyes. They were pitch black. The boy spoke again, his tone almost robotic. "We need to come in. It's important." Fear gripped me, and I slammed the door shut, locking it with trembling hands. I backed away, my breath coming in short, panicked gasps. The knock started again, this time louder and more insistent. "Let us in," the children demanded, their voices carrying a strange, hypnotic quality. "We won't hurt you. We just need to use your phone." I stumbled backward, nearly tripping over the coffee table. The knocking continued, relentless and pounding. I grabbed my cell phone from the couch and dialed 911, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hit the numbers. The operator's voice was calm and steady, a stark contrast to my own.
911, what's your emergency?
"There are children outside my house. They want to come in, but there's something wrong with them. Their eyes. They're black," I stammered.
"Stay calm, sir. Where are you located?"
I gave her my address, my eyes darting to the door as the knocking continued. "Please hurry," I pleaded, my voice breaking.
"Officers are on their way. Stay on the line with me,"
the operator instructed. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. The seconds felt like hours as I waited, the knocks growing more frantic. "Let us in," the children chanted, their voices melding into a haunting chorus. "Let us in, let us in, let us in." I pressed my back against the wall, trying to distance myself from the door. My mind raced, trying to make sense of what was happening. I had heard stories about the black-eyed children before, but I never believed they were real. Now, faced with the terrifying reality, I didn't know what to do. The operator's voice broke through my thoughts.
"The officers should be there any moment now. Are the children still outside?"
"Yes," I whispered, my eyes fixed on the door. They're still knocking. Suddenly, the knocking stopped. The silence was deafening, and I strained to hear any sign of the children. My heart pounded in my ears as I waited. The phone clutched tightly in my hand. I heard the sound of sirens in the distance, growing louder with each passing second. Relief washed over me, and I let out a shaky breath. The children were gone, vanished as mysteriously as they had appeared. The police arrived moments later, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. I unlocked the door and let them in, my legs feeling like jelly. The officers searched the area, but there was no sign of the children. It was as if they had never been there. One of the officers, a stern-looking man with a graying beard, approached me. "We didn't find anyone. Are you sure about what you saw?" I nodded, my voice barely audible. Their eyes, they were black, completely black. The officer exchanged a glance with his partner before turning back to me. "We'll keep an eye on the area. If you see or hear anything else, don't hesitate to call us." They left me standing in the doorway, my mind reeling from the night's events. I locked the door and double-checked the windows, making sure everything was secure. I didn't sleep that night. As the first light of dawn crept through the curtains, I finally allowed myself to relax, though the unease never fully left me. I knew what I had seen, and no amount of rationalization could explain it away. The black-eyed children were real, and they had come to my door. The next few days passed. I avoided going out at night and made sure all the doors and windows were locked before sunset. Despite my precautions, I still didn't sleep well. It took around 2 weeks until the knocking returned. It was just past midnight, and I was once again immersed in a book, trying to unwind before bed. The first knock was soft. My heart skipped a beat, and I froze, listening intently. The second knock was louder. I stood up slowly, my eyes fixed on the door. The memories of that first encounter came rushing back, and my mouth went dry with fear. The knocks continued, relentless and demanding. "Let us in," came the familiar, haunting voices. This time, there were more of them. The chorus of voices was eerily harmonious, a chilling blend of pleading and command. I couldn't help myself and peered through the peephole. My blood ran cold. There were 4 of them now, standing in a line on my porch. The original boy and girl were there, joined by 2 more children. Their eyes were as black and soulless as I remembered, their faces pale and expressionless. "Please let us in," the girl said, her voice dripping with an unnatural calm. "We need your help." I backed away from the door, my heart pounding. "No, you need to leave," I called out, my voice shaky but firm. The knocking intensified, the children's voices growing more insistent. "We just need to use your phone." I stumbled into the living room, grabbing my cell phone with trembling hands. I dialed 911 again, praying for a swift response.
911, what's your emergency?
"They're back, the children, the ones with black eyes."
Stay calm, sir. Help is on the way.
The minutes stretched into an eternity as I waited for the police to arrive. The knocking grew louder, more desperate, and the children's pleas became more frantic. "Let us in, please let us in." Finally, the sound of sirens pierced the night, and the children fell silent. I watched through the window as the police car pulled up, its lights flashing. The officers got out, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. I opened the window just a crack and called out to them. "They're here. on the porch. The officers approached cautiously with their hands on their holsters. They shone their flashlights around, but the children were gone. Once again, they had vanished without a trace. One of the officers, the same graying man from before, looked at me with concern. "Sir, have you been drinking or taking any drugs lately? We didn't see anyone." "No, nothing. They were here. They were right there, knocking and asking to come in." The officer sighed, clearly skeptical but unwilling to dismiss my fear. "We'll do another sweep of the area. In the meantime, try to get some rest." They searched the surroundings, but as before, they found no sign of the children. I thanked them and locked the door. I knew they would be back, and each time they seemed more determined. Over the next few days, I tried to go about my life as usual, but the fear lingered. I confided in a few close friends, hoping for some comfort or advice. Most of them were sympathetic but skeptical. Only one friend took my story seriously. I crashed at his place for a couple of weeks. I didn't dare stay at my place after all of this. A couple of months has passed, and I have moved back home and started to forget about all of this. I just felt that I had to let this off my chest by sharing my experience of the so-called black-eyed children. It was the scariest thing I had ever been through in my entire life. Wait, I just heard knocking on my door. For more scary horror stories, feel free to leave a like and subscribe.